Hello everyone, welcome back to the news channel. Tonight we begin with a story that marks a major escalation in the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia. A Ukrainian drone strike has reportedly hit 800 kilometers deep inside Russian territory, targeting a critical chemical plant in the city of Gubeka in Perm Krai. This is not only one of the deepest strikes carried out since the war began, but also one that carries enormous symbolic and strategic significance. It sends a clear message that no corner of Russia, not even its industrial heartlands, can be considered untouchable anymore. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, the strike took place late on the evening of September 13, 2025, at around 9:20 p.m. local time. A Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicle successfully penetrated Russian air defenses and hit a facility known as the Metafrax chemicals plant. This plant is a massive complex producing ammonia, urea, and melamine, all essential industrial chemicals with both civilian and potential military applications. Damage was reportedly done to equipment involved in urea production, and while there are no confirmed reports of casualties or major environmental hazards yet, the very fact that such a strike was possible, this deep inside Russia, is shaking Moscow's sense of security. The governor of Perm Krai, Dmitry Makhanin, confirmed that an industrial enterprise had been hit but provided few details, only stating that emergency services were on site and the situation was under control. Independent Russian media outlets and opposition sources, however, quickly identified the target as the Metafrax plant and suggested the damage could disrupt production for some time. This is not the first time Ukrainian drones have struck deep into Russian territory, but the distance this time 800 kilometers from the Ukrainian border marks a new milestone in Ukraine's long-range drone capabilities. This strike follows a series of similar attacks in recent months, many of them targeting Russian oil refineries and logistics infrastructure. For example, earlier this month, Ukrainian drones reportedly hit the Novoyufa oil refinery in Bashkortostan, also around 800 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. Another strike damaged facilities at the Kirishi oil refinery in Leningrad Oblast. Each of these attacks seems aimed at crippling Russia's energy and industrial base, while also demonstrating Ukraine's growing technological reach and precision. Military analysts say this strike has several layers of significance. First, the technical achievement, flying an unmanned aerial vehicle such a long distance across hostile airspace and successfully striking a high-value target requires advanced guidance systems, secure communications, and careful intelligence planning. It also exposes potential weaknesses in Russia's vast air defense network, which was long believed to be capable of protecting its interior regions from such incursions. Second, the choice of target matters. By striking a chemical production facility, Ukraine is sending a signal that it can hit not just military bases or border oil depots, but deep industrial assets that play a key role in Russia's economy and potentially its war effort. Urea and ammonia have widespread civilian uses, particularly in fertilizers, but they can also be connected indirectly to explosives manufacturing. Damaging this infrastructure could therefore have both economic and military consequences. Third, the psychological impact inside Russia cannot be underestimated. Until recently, many Russians living hundreds or even thousands of kilometers from the front lines might have felt the war was a distant issue. But with strikes now hitting facilities deep inside Russian territory, including regions near the Ural Mountains, the perception of safety far from the front lines is beginning to erode. Videos circulating on social media reportedly show explosions and fires at some of the struck facilities, further fueling anxiety among civilians. Fourth, the escalation risk is real. Each deep strike by Ukraine raises the question of how Russia might respond. Will Moscow launch retaliatory strikes deeper into Ukraine? Will it attempt to cripple Ukraine's own industrial base or energy infrastructure in response? Or will it focus on strengthening air defenses across its vast territory? So far, Russian officials have downplayed the incidents, often releasing minimal information about the extent of damage, possibly to avoid admitting vulnerabilities. But as these attacks become more frequent and strike increasingly valuable targets, the pressure on the Kremlin to respond more forcefully will only grow. Another aspect worth noting is the international reaction. Western governments have generally maintained that Ukraine has the right to defend itself, including by striking military and industrial targets used to support Russia's war effort. However, the deeper Ukrainian strikes go, the more debates may emerge about escalation and potential red lines. Some analysts warn that if civilian casualties or environmental disasters were to result from such attacks, the diplomatic fallout could become significant. For Ukraine, however, these operations are a powerful propaganda and military tool. They showcase technological innovation, undermine Russian morale, and potentially force Moscow to divert resources from the front lines to protect its interior infrastructure. Every additional air defense system deployed around industrial plants deep inside Russia is one less system available to counter Ukrainian drones and missiles near the actual battlefronts. The question now is what comes next. Will Ukraine attempt even deeper or more frequent strikes, perhaps targeting critical power plants, rail hubs, or communication centers? Will Russia adapt with new layers of air defense, electronic warfare systems, or even preemptive strikes on Ukrainian drone production facilities? The conflict seems to be entering a phase where long-range unmanned systems are becoming central to the strategy on both sides. It's also important to understand that the Metafrax chemicals plant is not an ordinary industrial site. According to reports, it launched a massive new facility in 2023, capable of producing hundreds of thousands of tons of ammonia annually. This makes it one of the largest chemical producers in Russia, with products vital for both domestic industries and exports. Damaging such a facility could have ripple effects on supply chains, agricultural production, and even international trade relations if output drops significantly. As the dust settles, both Ukrainian and Russian sources are likely to release more information or disinformation about the scale of the damage. Ukraine will want to highlight the success and strategic value of the strike, while Russia may try to minimize the impact to avoid public panic or criticism of its air defense capabilities. Independent verification may take days or even weeks, as access to the site is restricted and local authorities control information tightly. What is already clear, though, is that this strike has expanded the geographical scope of the conflict dramatically. It shows that Ukraine is willing and able to take the fight far beyond the front lines and into the symbolic heart of Russia's industrial base. Whether this will lead to new rounds of escalation, or whether it will pressure Moscow into rethinking its strategy, remains to be seen. For now, residents in Russian regions once considered completely safe are facing a new reality. The war can reach them too. Factories, refineries, and chemical plants far from the Ukrainian border may no longer be beyond the reach of modern warfare. And as technology evolves, especially with drones becoming cheaper, longer range, and more precise, this could mark the beginning of a new era in how wars are fought. We will continue monitoring the situation closely, bringing you updates on the aftermath of the strike, official reactions from Moscow and Kiev, and any signs of escalation on either side. This deep strike into Permkrai could be remembered as a turning point in the conflict, one that showed the world just how far and how fast the war between Russia and Ukraine is evolving.